last 3 weeks, and grapes will last 4 to 6 weeks, and blueberries will last 6 to 8 weeks. So you can always have enough groceries in your house. We only go grocery shopping once every 3 weeks, so we
Oh,
always
wow.
have fresh produce here.
So can I ask you, how did you come up with the ratios of the vinegar to water and the time? Like, were you like, oh shoot, like I just killed my strawberries one day, like when you went 2 minutes, 3 seconds, like how did that work? Welcome back to the Whole Topic podcast. Today, I'm excited to have Amy from Cross Legacy. She is one of those Instagram accounts I kind of stalk. Like, I love seeing the things she posts because it very much aligns with a lot of things that I know the women that probably listen to this podcast align with. You know, getting things on a budget if they can, eating healthy, canning. But this is a whole nother set of something that she talks about. So I'm just going to let you introduce yourself. Just tell me a little bit about yourself and how you got started with the Cross Legacy.
All right, my name is Amy Cross, and I started the Cross Legacy because that's our family motto. So that's why we named it the Cross Legacy. Like, easily slid into what my Instagram name became and the blog. But I started this because during the pandemic, I was answering questions on somebody else's Facebook group, and they were saying that they were only going to the grocery store once every 2 weeks. And they were scared to go to the grocery store, and they were scared to take their kids to the grocery store, and the shelves are empty, but they were only having produce for like the first 4 days of that 2 week cycle. And so at first I was a little bit confused and I didn't understand. And they were saying, well, blueberries only last 4 days when I bring them home. And I'm just like, I have month-old blueberries in my fridge. Like, what do you mean they only last 4 days? And currently, we have like 10-week-old blueberries that are in our fridge that I took to a speaking event yesterday. But blueberries will last for weeks and weeks. And I didn't realize that I knew these tips that I've developed over the last 20 years, and how much it helps other families. And when I was studying for my TED Talk, I found out that the average family is throwing away 40 to 60% of the food that they're buying. And so when you really think about all the food that you're buying and how expensive it is, and then you go and you throw away half the produce that you buy, or you overcook leftovers, or you add things to your freezer that you're not cycling back out, and they're getting frozen or frostbitten. They are getting frostbitten. And you really can see where the families, even homesteaders, are throwing away more food than they realize that they're throwing away. So, as our grocery budget is only $135 per person for an organic allergy family, and currently it's just my husband and I living here, so we are spending $270 a month on groceries, and we have zero food waste.
Wow, that's actually very encouraging to hear. It definitely, I definitely probably got to get your book, but that's incredible. So I want to know, like, where did you learn? Like, did you just one day in your kitchen decide, I'm just going to try this? Like, where did you learn these tips of storing your produce?
So I grew up on a fifth generational farm. And so growing up, I learned how to can. I learned harvest season to harvest season. We, prepared things for the winter months. My parents were loggers. And so we really with my grandparents, we're all on the farm, but we really brought in things for the winter time because my parents weren't working during the winter time. So we really had to, make sure that we had what we needed for the winter. And it was just the way that we grew up. And then as we became like a normal middle class busy family, we realized that we were wasting too much money on groceries, and we were having to work extra to figure out where all, our money was going. And it seemed like we were cutting everything besides like the grocery budget. And we were like, well, it's just groceries, and not realizing that we were spending so much. So I have college age students, kids, and then we were also foster parents. So my family size can grow from 2 to 8 at any moment. And so I have done it all over the years between just having the two of us here and having a full household here. But it's just those skills that I've learned over the years. And then as we had the foster kids here, I switched from not wanting to have plastics in my kitchen. I took all the plastic out of the kitchen like in 2017. And I've always washed the items like this, and I can go into how I wash them and those kind of things. But switching the items into glass made them last so much longer. But it also made when I can open up my refrigerator and the littles can like look in the refrigerator and see all the different colors and how to eat a rainbow and just be really encouraged,
Yeah.
that they can get strawberries or blueberries or blackberries. And I have them all at the same time in the refrigerator because I can get them to last for weeks.
Hmm. How did you deal with that did they ever like break your glass or
We've never had a problem with glass breaking. So I have like granite countertops and we've never like broken glasses. We use them as our drinking glasses too, and we've
okay,
never had
yeah.
issues. So
I love mason jars. We keep all of our herbs and our teas. It's just very beautiful. It's very aesthetically beautiful. So you did a TED Talks, and since strawberry, and it was since well, it was called Strawberries in a Jar.
yeah, it was how strawberries changed my life.
Yes. So since Strawberries in a Jar is what you went viral for,
Mhm.
can you share how people keep berries from molding too fast?
So when you bring them home and you wash them according to my instructions, for the strawberries, when you're washing them, you're going to wash them with 5% distilled white vinegar, which will kill off the mold spores, E. coli, Listeria, and any other harmful pathogens on it. And it's a quarter cup of 5% distilled white vinegar to 10 cups of water. And you set a timer for 2 minutes. And it's really important that you don't let them in the water longer than that. They will start to pickle and
Okay.
ferment and deteriorate. And then that's all it needs to actually kill those things off of them. Then you lay them on a towel to dry. It normally takes around 2 to 3 hours to dry. And then you're going to put them in the refrigerator. So raspberries and blackberries will last like 2 to 3 weeks, and strawberries will last 3 weeks. And grapes will last 4 to 6 weeks, and blueberries will last 6 to 8 weeks. So you can always have enough groceries in your house. We only go grocery shopping once every 3 weeks, so we
Oh,
always
wow.
have fresh produce here.
So can I ask you how did you come up with the ratios of the vinegar to water and the time? Like were you like, oh shoot, like I just killed my strawberries one day, like when you went 2 minutes, 3 seconds? Like how did that work?
Like you seriously have to set a timer, or I'm like ADHD and I'll go swap the laundry and forget about it and never come back. So like I try to stay in here, but it's like literally something that I've been doing for over 20 years now. And so I just figured out this is the right time. And then I know there has been some other TikToks have came out since then and different things. So let me just talk about some of the other things. If you're mixing vinegar and baking soda together, they're naturalizing each other and they are making cool videos because they look all bubbly, but they're not giving the cleaning effects of doing that. And being somebody that has been raised in the egg community and studies this stuff a lot, I don't believe there's any way to wash off your pesticides. So just like when you put chemicals on your skin, it soaks into your bloodstream within 28 seconds. Like the chemicals that are getting sprayed onto our produce items are soaking into the skin. They're getting into the produce item. They're grown into the plants through the water and through the dirt. Like you can't just put them in baking soda and they'd be pesticide free. So,
Exactly right.
so
Yeah.
not, don't soak them together. Don't soak them longer. It's just try to buy whatever you can that's, organic as much as you can and grow as much as you can. But the idea that we can just wash off pesticides, I don't believe is true at all.
Yeah. Yeah. I've always wondered that too. Like I mean, you do see sprays that might pull off a good amount of junk. But like you said, like what about the water they're using? What about the anything else they're using around that place? Like you just don't ever know. So it's that better to be if you can be safe. I'm sorry, but that I'm glad you pointed that out. So this is a good one because I think there was one time I was watching something you were doing and you were like breaking down what kinds of vegetables and fruits should go in the refrigerator, which ones don't. So, should all fruits and vegetables go in the fridge, or are some better left out at room temperature? How would you, and can you expound a little bit on what those would be?
So items in your refrigerator, like you should separate them out too. So, avocados and lemons and oranges, like if you can put those all together in a crisper drawer away from apples, but I'll talk about that in a second. But those items together in a crisper drawer will keep avocados fresh for over a month.
Wow.
So avocados and lemons are produce buddies. And so citrus will stay fresh for a couple months in the refrigerator. I wash them when they bring them home so it kills off any of the mold spores. And then I store them in the drawer, in the crisper drawer. You can store those on the countertop, but they're not going to last as long. And then apples, if you don't know, most of the time they're about a year old when you get them from the grocery store.
Whoa, no, I did not know that.
I live in Washington and there are huge fruit warehouses everywhere. Like apples are picked in the fall, and those warehouses are full all year long. So as they
Wow.
gradually go out to the stores all year long. So, if you're getting a apple that, you buy in the spring, it's like 6 months old at that time. So then I will always keep those in the refrigerator, but like on the top shelf away from the citrus. And so separating those things. Bell peppers is another one that people don't think about. Bell peppers are a fruit. And so if you can keep those away from other fruits and vegetables, then they will last like three to 4 weeks.
Oh, wow.
Um, so just knowing like the different produce items, which we have all listed in the book
Yes,
and
yes.
fridge organization. And then on your countertop, if you have oranges and apples and bananas, you want to make sure that those are separated. Those are not produce buddies and they will like make each other spoil quicker. And if you're trying to ripen an avocado, you can put it next to a banana, but it will also make the avocado or the banana like black, like almost instantly.
So they could be in the same like refrigerator, but they
Mhm.
just have to be separated.
Separate it out. Yeah. So
And
the
you do the
citrus I try
same.
to keep in a drawer.
Okay, so then do you do the same vinegar wash for all of these as well?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
For all of those, I do the same. And then since we're talking about what's produce buddies and not produce buddies, if you buy onions and potatoes, they need to be 3 feet apart from each other. So a lot of people will throw those items together and then wonder why they're spoiling so quickly. They will make each other like spoil super quick. So
Oh my
onions,
gosh.
yeah, onions will actually last harvest season to harvest season, along with garlic. You can store those two together, but they should last like fall to fall. And then normally potatoes right around March is when they're getting ready to be planted. So, they know that they're ready to be planted, so they'll start eyeing. But if you keep them in like a basket, like a wire basket that has a little bit of airflow, and then I put a pillowcase over my potatoes, they'll last for like 6 to 9 months normally.
Oh wow. That's incredible. These are tips, especially in today's inflated market, that people definitely need to hear. So what are the most common mistakes people make when storing fresh produce, in your opinion?
Just coming home and throwing it in the refrigerator. So, I mean, even some things like when I come home from the grocery store, it takes me about 30 minutes to wash all my produce, like once a month. Every 3 to 4 weeks is when I'm going grocery shopping.
Not bad.
And to do that, and then it lays out to dry. And then it takes me about 15 minutes to make my fridge beautiful, putting all these things away. So 45 minutes once a month, like
Yeah,
anybody
that's
has time to
doable.
do that. Yeah, so my lettuce and my spinach, cilantro will last for 6 weeks. Asparagus will last for over a month. All of these items that if you just take a little bit of time, when you bring them home, not only are they safe for your family to eat, they're actually going to eat them.
Yes, and they're going to actually last long enough to eat them. So I'm gonna ask you a question that applies to. I have 7 kids, and I remember trying the lettuce thing, and it did work. Like my lettuce lasted for a very long time. I bought a whole bunch of it, um, and I don't know if I did it right, but I ended up laying out. Like I did all the. I rinsed it in the vinegar, and then I laid it all out to dry. But because I had so much lettuce, because I have so many people in my family that eats all this lettuce, I think it took like hours to get it fully dry. What would you recommend if someone's going to do a big thing like this? Because I do know a lot of homeschool families that want to save their produce and want to save it and make sure it lasts forever. What would you recommend to somebody who's doing a bigger amount like that and to make the process quicker?
Salad spinners, like they help so much to cut the drying time down for your greens. And then halfway in between the drying time, I flip them over.
But
So when you're thinking about laying them down, I like make sure that it looks like a roof and the stem is up on the top and it's not sitting there like a boat and collecting the water. So that first time you lay it down, you're trying to get as much of the water out of it as you can. And if you don't have a salad spinner, like just a little shake, like shaking your pom-poms will help just splash off a little bit of the water. And since we're talking about families with a lot of kids, I just want to say that I normally lay a beach towel down and I make it look like a rainbow and all of the things. And it's good if your family wants to eat a little bit more produce on produce watching day. Like get them involved in it, get them excited. They might try new things that they won't normally try. Like my husband will actually walk by sometimes and try a tomato, and he doesn't normally eat tomatoes. Like it's, kind of fun. And then some things like when you're cutting up the grapes. So I normally cut grapes when I'm washing them into like little clusters, but I keep them on the stem. If you have any that are loose, I always put those towards the edge so my family knows, like, oh, these are the ones that she wants us to eat. Because when you take them off of the stem, they're going to start deteriorating. So you want to try to keep them on the stem as long as possible with tomatoes too. So
so do you chop the lettuce? Because I do have a salad spinner. I cannot believe I didn't think about that. Do you chop the lettuce and then, or would you recommend just doing the full leaf and just storing it that way?
I normally store it in the full leaf.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
I, cut off the bottom. We normally buy romaine
Right.
or and grow romaine, but I cut off the bottom and then keep them in the bigger leaves. And then if you're looking for the glass containers that I use, we do have them on our Amazon storefront.
Okay. Yeah, we'll try. I want to make sure that gets linked to the comment section below. Okay, so this leads to the next question. Since we are talking about lettuce, what's the best way to store leafy greens so that they don't wilt quickly? That's such a pet peeve. There's a certain kind of lettuce that I never buy from the store because every time you buy it, it's like half of it is, it's in like one of those containers. It's like those big spinach containers. You know what I'm talking about? And like half the lettuce feels like it's already wilted and gross. So tell us your best tips on serving or storing leafy greens.
So greens in general are the most recalled produce items. So even if it says it's been triply washed, those triply washed bags get recalled all of the time. So let's just start there. And so when you're bringing them home and you're washing them properly, you know that you're protecting your family. Right now, there's a huge broccoli recall also. So yeah, another thing to kind of be thinking about. But when you're bringing them home, you are protecting your family. And then we go grocery shopping once every 3 to 4 weeks. I have lettuce in the refrigerator right now that is almost 4 weeks old. We should have went grocery shopping on Monday and it was snowing, and so we pushed it off another week. So we still have lettuce like that is 3.5 weeks old right now. That's totally perfect. And spinach that's totally perfect in the refrigerator. So like I'm happy if
Yeah,
lettuce last month. So
that's
um,
incredible. Like, because that's like one of the things that I think would go to waste the quickest, at least in my refrigerator when I've had to do things. Um, I mean, it does help now that I have a lot of mouths, and so like 3 heads of lettuce I can cut, and in one fell swoop it's gone. Like it's no joke. So, what are your
Oh,
favorite?
hold on. I have another thought. So since we're talking about large families and we don't go to the grocery store very often, when we had like a whole house full here, not always can you have like all the berries that you want to have in the house. And so to make sure that we always have fresh fruit, I make sure that we have some of those longer items in the house. So we always get like 100 pounds of apples in the fall. I always keep watermelon in the late summer. We have extra watermelon. I consider that a food security item. Watermelon will last like 2 months in your pantry. So we have watermelon from like August to October, and it's kind of one of those fresh fruit, food security things that we have before the apples come in season. But kind of, just training your family that it might not be the exact fruit item that they want, but we have these other fresh fruit options always available here at the house.
That's awesome. Now, is some of this info I assume is in your book?
It's in the book.
It's in the
Yes.
book. Okay, so we have to get the book.
You have to get the book. Do you want me to talk
I
about the book?
I'm just
So
excited about the book because I did see when you first putting it out, like I just saw it was so beautiful. It was like so beautifully done. And who doesn't want something when you have a whole task like that that you're trying to figure out and learn? Who doesn't like a beautiful book? Like, so I'm really glad you put the effort and the color and all that fun stuff into it. Um,
every single one of these pictures was taken in my kitchen too. So every
although
page has a colored picture on it that we've taken, but it has 75 produce items in it and how to keep each one of them fresh for weeks. Plus it has meals and recipes and other tips. And we've spent 2 years putting this book together and I'm so pleased with how it turned out.
oh, I
So.
bet you are. Well, I am planning to actually buy a copy because I haven't gotten it yet. I was like, I'm going to talk to her and pick her brain a little bit. But I'm definitely, especially when I move in that house, I'm not going to expand on my living situation any more than I already have. But once we get moved into our house that we're building, I actually am going to buy the book so I can study it before we get there because I want to be able to implement this. Like, this is something my husband and I talk about all the time because it is a big problem today because I think most people know they need to eat more organic. I don't even know if organic's perfect, but it's definitely better. But this is something that speaks to people's budgets right now. Like as a family of nine, our budget is pretty hefty for groceries because we look at it as part of our health insurance. It's part of the deal. Like if you got to eat well if you want to stay healthier. And so I think this is such a needed thing right now outside of the whole canning community or people like growing food and stuff like that. Because I think you're absolutely right. There is even a lot of homesteaders that don't know how to save food well. And it's not for lack of trying. It's just for lack of knowledge in some of the things that you're bringing forward and sharing. So this is very exciting. So what are your favorite zero waste hacks for using that produce before it spoils?
Well, I try to make a plan for things as I'm buying them, but I like to buy things that are really versatile and I can use a lot of different ways. So I'm not really buying things for a specific recipe. I'm buying, ingredients. Our house is full of ingredients that I can use multiple ways. And then in the book too, we talk about like the items that for me, like I go grocery shopping once every 3 weeks. I still have a little bit of spinach in the refrigerator. Like that spinach, I know I can put in the freezer and still be able to buy some more spinach. So knowing the items that can freeze easily, like if you have extra bell peppers, you can throw those in the freezer. And then you have ingredients when you go to make the next meal too. So we talk about that in the book also, like different meal ideas that use a lot of different produce or it's really versatile with the produce that you're using.
Okay, that's actually good to know because like I think about that like a lot of times I'll use peppers and onions in some of my recipes. I could totally see that being like something you can freeze and just I mean they sell that kind of thing in the store anyway, like those bags of like onions and peppers and whatever else they put in there. So that's a very good tip. So how can someone shop more strategically to make sure that their produce does last?
So I try to buy in season as much as possible. And like right now, like as much as I talk about strawberries all the time, like we don't buy strawberries in the winter time. I did it the first year after we went viral, and I'm like, I am so sick of strawberries.
Yeah.
But I felt like I always had to have them here. But you just get tired of items. So when you can really teach your family to be excited about the new produce items as they're coming into season, it really helps, cycle through those items. But we always get strawberries back again for Valentine's Day. We do chocolate fondue for Valentine's Day, and it's something we look forward to. We had taken, a 5 month break from strawberries, and now they're coming back in. We get really excited around Christmas time that the big, beautiful pomegranates are coming into season. And then, of course, all spring and summer as things are beautiful and coming in, just to get excited about them instead of having just the same thing all of the time.
So do you feel like because that kind of goes to one of the questions I had in here as well, like how strongly do you feel that we should shop in season? Do you feel like shopping in season also is way more friendly to the budget?
Yeah, it can be like it depends on what your choices are and stuff.
Point.
Like some I shop at the farmers market, in the summertime, and it's not always cheaper.
Yeah.
So, but, homegrown and straight from the farmers important for me. When we can get that, and we're not growing our own, so sometimes it's not as cheap. But again, our grocery budget is $135 per person.
Yeah,
So
that's amazing.
yeah, even before all this inflation stuff that happened, our grocery budget for over 10 years was $100 a person. And then as we found out that we had allergies and stuff in the family, and I have some medical issues that we have to work around, that I'll just talk about this. I am diabetic and I have reflective sympathetic dystrophy. And then in our family, there is gluten, soy, dairy, raw sugar cane allergies, and I have one that's a vegetarian. So I'm really a mom
But
that
you're,
has done it all over the
yeah,
years. So, but when we had a whole house full here of our kids and the foster kids here, so we maxed out at 8, we always maxed out that grocery budget of $1,000 a month. So it didn't, when you have more, it's still just maxed out at $1,000, and it maxed out at that because that's all we could afford. And these skills that I've learned is because we've had to cut the budget and mark down every penny as you're at the grocery store and to make sure that everything's in budget. But, a lot of the things that we are buying are ingredients, and we don't buy very many things that are packaged already. And, our families just kind of learned that they've grown up in an ingredients household, and that's just the way it is. And,
yeah,
those kind of choices really help save the budget too.
yeah. And but even like the thing I love about this whole method that you bring forth is like you don't even if you have extra money to spare, like who doesn't want to know how to save and process their food in such a way that it saves it for longer, it keeps them out of the grocery store potentially for longer, like which I've heard on average, and I can attest to this because of our life situation. I have to go out like twice a week. Guaranteed, if I go to that grocery store, bare minimum, I'm going to spend $50 every time I go in there. So I do my best to stay out of the grocery store, except for once a week at this point because we're living in a camper. But beyond that, like if I can get enough produce in my refrigerator, even if I was able to do it for 2 weeks, like that would be amazing. So I know that there are a lot of people that do not like going grocery shopping these days, especially when they have to see what comes up at the checkout. It's
Yeah, I don't shop coupons, and I don't really go to a specific store for sales. Again, like we're an organic family, those things normally aren't on sale anyways. So, when I'm trying to buy like ingredients that are not produce, I, bulk purchase, and, sometimes I can get better prices when I'm buying larger quantities for those kind of things. But, really staying out of the grocery store is my key. I am on your college age parents. I'm on like a Grown and Flown Facebook page, which now has 1 million moms on it, which is crazy. But being on that page for so many years now, I'm realizing that the transition from having a large family to being like empty nesters again too is so hard. And when you think about families that are throwing away 40% of the groceries that they're buying, 40 to 60%, we're thinking of large families of, 8 spending $1,000 on groceries. These families of 2 are spending $1,000 on groceries and throwing 60% away, which is $600 a month that they're throwing away in groceries. Like, the things that I know are from small family to allergy family to our grandma was living with us last year. She passed away, but she was living with it here. So I can really help speak to all ages and, different health backgrounds and really teach you how to save money on groceries instead of throwing it away.
which is so needed today. Like I cannot stress that enough. So speaking of which, do you truly feel like this method saved you money?
It saved my sanity. Like not being able to afford groceries put so much stress on me. Like knowing that like our 4 walls weren't taken care of, like we put grocery money at the same, level of, making sure our power and our water is paid, making sure our mortgage is paid. That grocery money is put aside every single month. It goes into a separate bank account, a debit card for me. And so I always know that it's there. It's not flexible. It's just the money's there. And that's all I use it for is at the grocery store for groceries. And then we have other budgets that are more flexible. On our 20th wedding anniversary, all we could afford for our 20th wedding anniversary was $20. And we went and got milkshakes and watched the sunset. Like it didn't have to be a great big thing, but those other budgets are flexible as we have money or don't have money. But the grocery budget is one of our four walls. We don't mess with it. And that peace of mind, knowing that I have the meals that we need to make, the ingredients in the house, like all of those things. And then since I'm a homesteader and I think about, preparing for storms and those kind of things, but a lot of times I'm talking to young moms that live in apartments and don't think about what's next or what happens, or even trying to make it another day for until payday to be able to go to the grocery store. One of my favorite tips is to keep a box of cereal and some shelf-stable milk like hidden somewhere. So in my house, it's normally above my refrigerator. And, anybody, like no matter if your power is out or if you're just trying to, have a meal until payday or to make sure that you have something like that emergency box of cereal and that emergency milk is just there. And that you have that peace of mind that you can feed your kids at least one more meal without having to worry about water or power or anything.
And I think just one of the best parts of just that whole idea as well is like I think we as moms underestimate the memories that our kids have. Just like we go elaborate on a lot of meals because we're trying to feed our family, but how cool my kids think it is when I give them a peanut butter and jelly for sandwich for dinner, or like a bowl of cereal for dinner. Like, oh my gosh, mom just like did this for dinner. And so they don't care. It's so I love that. Not only does it save your mind, it makes everybody happy. The kids love it.
Well, it's really funny. My husband loves it too because twice a year I will buy 2 boxes of Cocoa Pebbles, and that's my emergency box. And like we're Gen X, like Cocoa Pebbles is his life. And I don't eat it because it makes my blood sugar go up to 500. He always knows, oh, it's like it's been 6 months. She's buying a new box. That means I can eat the old box, and it's a treat. It's really exciting for him.
Yes, I love that. I think that's a great tip to have. Okay, because and something else that I do because we freshly mill all of our own flour.
How do
We
we?
make things like that. Um, I think that I kind of have a similar idea. Like I cold cereal is something that it's such an easy thing to go to. Um, but a lot of times too, I just keep wheat berries as well on hand because like you could do so many things with wheat berries and not have to worry about buying. Like there's been times where I can't get to the grocery store. I'm like, all right, it's pancake night. We're doing pancakes. That's it. And
Yeah.
I love it because it's simple and everybody loves it and they think you're the best cook. So it works out for all of us.
Yes.
So, um, the last question, I would like to hear more about your book. I really want to know what you would want your buyer to know because one, this book I'm definitely getting. I have been every morning I get up and I read multiple pages of I'm going through two different books right now as I try to learn about different topics and just soak in a bunch of knowledge. This is one of those books that's going to have to go on my reading list here, um, due to the fact that I do want to get into doing what you do here with your method. But can you tell us, like, in your zero waste book, what do you want the buyer to know, and just everything you love about the book that we should know?
Well, this book we've worked on for over 2 years, so it's like my baby, but it is A to Z. So they're all alphabetized A to Z from apples to zucchini, or I think it's actually acorn squashes before apples, but you know what I mean. But it is meant to not only read and digest, but to keep it in your kitchen and use it as a guide as you are washing things or trying to remember things. Like it's really meant to be, really handy and user friendly. And then the back of it has the master chart. So if you're trying to remember if something's stored in water or not stored in water, or if it goes in a glass jar, if it goes on the counter, like there's just a quick, easy master chart that's at the back of the book. And that part, those 3 pages are priceless. Like that chart we will never print. anywhere else. I like never show it all the way on screen when I'm doing videos, but there's over 40 like meal ideas in it. Some are recipes and some are just like use this, and this if you have it, or use this and this if you have it. But trying to give you ideas to use up items and then really teaching you what order to eat things in. So like if you're bringing grapes and blackberries home, like which ones will last longer and which ones, to be encouraging to cycle out. There's ideas about how I taught my kids to eat a rainbow every day. And so like every time well, around 3 o'clock when I'm making dinner, I also sit out like veggies and, encourage them to like, here, eat your veggies. So yeah, the book is just amazing. And I know that is expensive. It's because it's super expensive for us to print. It's a full color hardback book that's printed in the United States. That was really important to me too, that it's printed in the United States. It's not coming from overseas. And we are a small business, which means that we can only do small business orders. And, you know, if we ordered 1,000 at a time or 8,000 at a time, they would be a lot cheaper for us to buy. But we do small batches of ordering them. We do sell out. So sometimes you have to get them when they're in stock, and then it takes the publisher like 2 weeks to get them to us. So it's been amazing. We've only been selling these for like 75 days now. And it's just been incredible, even with the publisher trying to keep up with how many are going out. And it's really neat, but they're always available on our website, which will be linked in your description. But we're thecrosslegacy.com on the website. And then on YouTube, I've been posting my dinner ideas, everything that we've been eating like every 2 weeks. I've been posting meals like that, but we have like over 600 videos on YouTube, and we're reaching 4 million people a month on Instagram. So it's just incredible. But make sure that you're following, all the places, Instagram, YouTube. We're always putting out new content. But this book is my baby, and there's probably a special discount code for your followers that you'll be putting in the description also.
That is perfect. And I have all the links and stuff. And I'm definitely, like I said, I'm going to order mine because God knows we need it. It's definitely been an interesting thing. And like I said, I've tried your method before and I'm like, oh my gosh, it looks so good. And so you've been on my mind to find and talk to. So I'm so glad though that you've been able to explain a little bit more. And I really hope that a lot of the young moms that are around me will get their hands on this book and will follow your stuff, because I can't say this enough. This is something that's very, very needed today, because the talk around the conversations is the budgets are through the roof on groceries. So thank you so much for coming on and answering our questions, and all that stuff will go in the description, and I will make sure this gets shared wherever I share my stuff. And we're going to wrap this one up here, and we will see you guys next week.
Thanks for having me.